This past weekend, I went to the Rosemont Regional Qualifier. Now, this was new format, and it also had Sky Strikers legal, but it wasn't the new time procedure rules that I'll talk about in a video, but I'm sure many of you have already heard about those. Those weren't in effect for this weekend. That actually goes into effect next weekend. Anyway, I did not get my invite. Once again, I lost in the last round, and I think at this point, I have this crazy mental block. Every time I go to the last round of a regional, I'm just so afraid that I'm going to lose, and I put too much pressure on myself, and then I play horribly. That's pretty much exactly what happened at this regional and the last regional, and it's getting kind of frustrating because in the past, not only have I been able to easily get my invite, but I also topped regionals back in the day, and I was way worse at the game playing way worse decks. I think my first regional top, I had like 18 normal summons in the deck. That was not very good, and I don't know, it's getting frustrating, but I think a lot of it is just a mental block when I play this game right now. And yeah, I took Altergeist to this event, and I thought my build was pretty good. I took a lot of inspiration from I looked at a lot of the lists that I've been topping. I picked sort of my favorite parts and added a couple parts of my own. I think this deck is fantastic. I think that overall, I mean, I was doing pretty good at the first half of the day. I really didn't sort of crash and burn until the last couple rounds there. But overall, I thought this deck ran really well. I think I just made some pretty crucial misplays. And then in the final round, I made a whole bunch of misplays because I just didn't know what I was playing against, and it was really bad. Anyway, though, I built this deck to sort of be anti-meta based. It really is fine-tuned to beat the Goki, Spiral, and Sky Striker matchups, and for the most part, it actually did that pretty well. If you expect a lot of Altergeists in your metagame, don't play this build because you'll see there's like so many main deck things that are really bad against other trap decks, but against the bigger decks, the ones that are like the top decks or whatever, and Altergeist is a good deck, but there weren't as many at this regional as I thought there would be. But against like Spiral, Gokis, and Sky Strikers, this deck is really good against. Altergeist cards are really cool. A lot of people ask me why I play this instead of Frogs now. Frogs have a really good extra deck monster to sit on, but the Altergeist main deck monsters are just insane. The three main ones that we play 3 copies of are they just have so much value. It's incredible. So anyway, the first card we have is Altergeist Marionetter. This is the main Stratos of the deck. It's not my favorite one, but it is pretty important. This is the one. This is like the most important one in terms of doing damage to your opponent. Not only because it has the most attack, but that because the Call the Haunted effect can really get like the Link monster on board and do some pretty silly things there. The new card, the one that made the deck playable, because it was like I think it's the only new card of the latest set. Multi-Faker. This card's ridiculous. Like, I don't know what they were thinking when they designed this card. It's just way too good. It's not like a Paleo where it has to change the trap. It's just, it's like Astrograph, which just makes it really stupid. Yeah, this is like the card you want to open in every hand. But actually, my favorite Altergeist is the blue one, the Altergeist. I can't even pronounce this guy's name at all. I call it Moose Elk. It's definitely not pronounced that way. It's like I'm not even gonna try. I always do that. I say I'm not gonna try, and then I try. I'm not going to in this case. Just say the blue guy. This card's incredible. This card's really good going first. You can then link summon a Link Karibo and get a search for Multi-Faker. That's really good. But it's also the card you want going second because it breaks boards. You summon it and you can attack directly, take out one of your opponent's cards. If they answer this card, then you get a search because it goes to the graveyard. It's just so good. This is a card that I always wanted to top deck. This is a card I always wanted to draw going second and first. Yeah, definitely like the best card in the deck. Maybe the best Altergeist by far. But I mean, the other ones are good. Like this card wouldn't just make the deck by itself. It's good because it can search Multi-Faker, but oh man, this is like the card I wanted in most of my hands. We also had 2 Altergeist Soliloquists, or so, I can't pronounce any of these guys, I'm so sorry. Yeah, the Kieran is really cool, he's pretty neat. And then I played one of the Conqueries. Some of the OCG players, actually a lot of the OCG players were doing this, and a couple of the TCG players were as well. This card's pretty cool. The main uses is that you can block the attacks, and then you can stop some cool stuff. I stopped like Royal Decree once, that was pretty cool. One time I had a rivalry face up, and I summoned this with Multi-Faker to stop my opponent's Spiral Tough, and it's just like negated until this thing's removed from the board, so it's really good. And yeah, that's like the Altergeist. Yeah, this deck is basically half Altergeist, half stun cards. The only non-Altergeist and non-stun cards are the 2 spells in the deck, but overall, you just want to draw a hand of like 2 or 3 Altergeist and 2 or 3 stun cards, and you should be set. We also played 3 Reaper. Man, I am like, I'm that guy that mains Reaper now. No, this card's really good too. It's this format, there's I play 5 dedicated Reaper targets. This deck really doesn't need the extra deck. I think I only summoned like 2 things out of the extra deck, three different monsters out of the extra deck the whole tournament. So you can dedicate a lot of space to Reaper side deck card or Reaper extra deck cards. And also, every deck is playing Nightmares. Like, if they're not playing like the whole Nightmare engine, they're probably playing Nightmare Phoenix or Nightmare Cerberus. Those cards are really good just as generic Link 2s. So that means that you can get away with playing Reaper. I never really didn't have a target. There was one match against a self-proclaimed budget Invoke player who did not have anything for me to Reaper because I didn't play Makaba. But I tried to Reaper like a Borreload and didn't have that. And I drew a second Reaper, and I thought he might have the Nightmare cards, but he wasn't even playing those cards or Link Kribo or any of those. So that was like the one time that Reaper didn't work. But other than that, I never found a game where I didn't have a Reaper target, so that was really good. Ash Blossom, I think, is like probably the best hand trap right now. It's just so good against everything. It's really good against Brandish, it's really good against Sky Strikers, and just everything. They're all playing like draw spells and search cards, so Ash is really good. Droll is terrible. I hate this card. I don't know why I played it. I mean, I know why I played it. The last time I played this card was in full power spiral format. It's good against like Gokis when they're like going off, and it's okay against the Sky Striker deck. It's okay against spirals. But I found that, and I kind of knew this already, the only time that Droll is like really, really good is when you can Droll a Terraforming. Other than that, though, the card's pretty lackluster. Definitely cutting those cards. And there's like a lot of stuff that I want to add. Well, there's 4 cards that I want to add to the deck. I guess I could say just 3, but that's definitely the card that I'm cutting. For the spells, you played 1 Desires and 1 Duality. Yeah, I was playing 2 Desires and the last deck profile, and I just wanted to play Duality because it seems really good, and then it ended up being really good actually as well. But I want to play 2 copies of both these cards. They're just so good. For the Duality sometimes can like really fix your hand because you get to pick exactly what you're adding, but the sheer draw power of Desires is incredible. You don't really care about banishing anything in this deck except for 1 card, and that's not too hard to get out of the deck, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. But Desires and Duality were both crazy. I just didn't see them as much as I wanted to. 3 copies of Spoofing, obviously. The OCG players play 3 copies of Protocol a lot. I've been doing that as well. And just 1 copy of Manifestation. This is like the only card you don't want to banish to Desires, but even then it's not that bad. Yeah, the reason Manifestation, so the OCG they play 1 copy because they can actually activate this card and then chain the Kieran card to bounce back to the hand, and then it still resolves. It doesn't work like that in the TCG, but this card isn't that great to open, and it's especially not great to open in multiples because the problem with this card is that you can't just flip it. With Personal Spoofing and Protocol, you can just activate them without using their effects, which means that you you can activate the Multi-Faker from your hand. With Manifestation, you can't do that. You need something in the grave to actually work with, which means that drawing multiple of this card is pretty bad. So I just played the 1 copy, never regretted it. I never really needed the second copy at all, and oftentimes you don't even really need that card to win, so I thought it was fine. I play a lot of Floodgates, 3 Anti-Spell, 1 Order, 2 Rivalry. Yeah, these cards are all really degenerate and stupid, but that's kind of like the reason that Altergeists are good is because they can play these cards and they can actually like proactively kill the opponent, where a lot of decks like even Frogs, as much as I love them, you can flip these cards and then you can just like only have a dupe Frog, and then like you never get rid of it and you are stuck like until you get to the Toad. But in this deck you can just proactively deal with your cards. Oh, also Anti-Spell is like really dumb in this deck, only because of the blue guy and the Kieran. So every single turn, like let's say your opponent sets 3 back row, you can on their end phase use Kieran to bounce 1 of them, and then on your turn use Kieran to bounce another 1 of them, and then summon the blue guy and take out the 3rd one. So Anti-Spell is stupid in this deck because of that reason. Like Frogs, you can like negate the cards with Toad, but this one you can almost always take care of at least 2, but usually 3 of their cards. I played 2 Infinite Impermanence. I'm going to play 3 this card. I wasn't sure how good it would be. It's pretty bad against Spirals because Resort prevents it from me working, but man, this card's incredible. When you're going second, you can do this with Multi-Faker. That's like super unfair, and I wanted to open that more, so we're going to play 3 of this in the next profile. That I can pretty much guarantee we're going to play 3 of. So I also played 2 Solemn Strike and 1 Judgment. Yeah, these cards are fine. I think I should have just played 3 Strike because the life points definitely got me a couple times. This deck I cut the Torrentials from the main deck because I wanted to play Rivalry instead, because Torrential's pretty bad against Sky Strikers, and that meant that I didn't have a lot of ways to clear boards, which meant I often took a lot of damage, so I don't really want to play Judgment anymore, but maybe I will. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. Anyway, the extra deck, we have The 3 cards that you sometimes make, Altergeist Hextia. Yeah, this card's okay. A lot of times, like, it's so weird. Like, in Frogs, you're, like, turboing to get the Toad out, and then you just win from there. In this deck, though, you often just want to control the board with the main deck monsters. This guy's good, though, because it negates spells and traps. And then also it's good for the OTKs, which is cool. The main one being that you summon this, and then make a second one using it, and then bring the first one back with the Marionetter to do, like, 1,000,000 damage. And the real extra deck monster that I summon like every single game, sometimes multiple times in a duel, is Link Kribo. So this card's stupid. This is what like makes the deck, I think, in terms of like consistency, because it means that you can summon the blue guy turn 1 and then search the multi-faker, which is incredible. So this is pretty much all I summoned from the extra deck. I mean, I guess I summoned the Nightmare Phoenix like once or twice. Other than that, though, everything I just didn't summon or their cherries targets. So like I technically played Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Goblin, and Nightmare Unicorn. I guess I summoned Unicorn once. Okay, correction. I summoned Nightmare Unicorn exactly once. Yeah, these cards are good, but I didn't really make them too often. I didn't make this ever. I didn't make the Borreload ever. I don't even know how I ever would make the Borreload. I mean, I guess I could have that many monsters. Borreload's like just good non-targeting removal. And then like the cherries targets, so Isolde for Gokis, Double Helix for Spirals, both of these Sky Strikers. This is super important. If you're playing cherries, and a lot of people just played like the red one, you have to play both of these, because when they horn it, like so it's like the red one is the better one to hit, but what happens is if they summon Ray and then you cherries, they'll just chain the Ray to summon the red guy, and then at that point, like, yeah, I guess it's fine banishing the other two red guys out of their deck, but they can just shuffle this back with the equip spell, so it doesn't really matter. So in that case, when they do that, because their card will be chain link too, so you'll see which one they get, then you can banish the other one, which a lot of times is the blue guy. So that's pretty cool. And there was one case where my opponent thought I was only playing or he was only playing like one of them, and he summoned a different one, and then I just reapered the other one, so that was really good as well. And then yeah, I played a ABC Dragon Buster as well. I think you can probably play like Makaba instead of ABCs, but I don't know. I'm like so afraid of ABCs, and I actually lost that deck. That was one of my losses because I didn't draw the Reaper. But anyway, on to the side deck. I played Inspector Border. I did not come up with this, but this card is stupid in this deck. Basically, in the mirror match, there's no outs to this except infinite and permanents. Other than that, those things pretty much impossible to kill, so you can just summon this. They can't out it, and then you summon monsters, and you just attack over their monsters. No one's getting any effects, but you have a 2000 attack guy, and it's pretty much impossible for them to deal with it. Even if they have the Call the Haunted card, there's not a lot of Link 2s they can make to out this card, so they have to make like a Link 3, and that's really tough without any effects. Link 2s are fine, but Link 3s pretty difficult. So yeah, this card's stupid. Definitely play that guy. It's just good against a lot of decks. And also Ghost Ogre for the Spiral matchup. I did play 2 Spiral Gokis, or Spiral Nightmares, and this card was pretty good. I played 1 Gamma Seal. It's like okay against Sky Strikers because it puts a monster in the main zone. It's not super great against the Nightmares, any Nightmare variant really, because they give you Ibli and then you can't summon it. Rageki's pretty good against the Nightmare decks, just for baiting the negate. If they have Trigate and they don't have Trigate, then you just blow up their whole board. So that's pretty good. And then for the traps in the side deck, the MVP of the entire side deck was Wiretap. Holy crap, this card's good. The main reason you play this card is because it's a good counter to Red Reboot, but I hit a bunch of evenlies with this, and oh man, it's so good. You just hit the evenly, and then they're like, oh, now they've wasted like their main phase 1, they've wasted their battle phase, and also you still have all your cards left. It's just, this card's incredible. Definitely play this card. It's also really good in the mirror matches, or any trap-based mirror match, really. Like, if you I played against Frogs, and this card was pretty good against that as well. Just as like extra copies of Solemn Judgment, basically, because the trap-based decks are all about value. So cards like Wiretap are really good because it can't be chained to. And then also in that same vein, we have Heavy Stormduster. This is for the trap decks, just because, like I said, the trap deck matchups aren't so much about OTKing your opponent. They're not so much about setting up a huge board. They're just about value trades, and you just want to get as many pluses as possible. Now, luckily, Altergeists are good at that, but when it's an Altergeist mirror match, you can then play Heavy Stormduster, and then it blows up 2 cards for 1 card. Those sort of incremental pluses in card economy matter a lot in those mirror matches, as well as just Inspector Border stopping their entire deck. But if you don't draw on the Inspector Border, Heavy Stormduster is pretty insane. And then lastly, we have for the big decks that anti-spell isn't really so good against sometimes, like Goki's isn't super, anti-spell isn't super relevant against. It's okay against spirals, but these cards are just for like the big decks, so Rivalry is really good. This is like third copy. Probably main deck this going forward as well, so you guys can kind of see what the changes that I want to make are. Third Infinite Impermanence, maybe maybe third Rivalry, I mean, and then the Duality and the Desires going up to 2 copies. I'm going to try to fit all that in. I'm not entirely sure how, but it'll hopefully work itself out, and yeah, Trenchel is pretty good. I sided it against the Link spam decks, but it's just so bad against Skystrikers that I didn't really want to main it. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for my deck profile. Some people ask why I do these if I don't do that well. I mean, the playlist is called Failing at Events, but I think it's just cool as a YouTuber to have like a record of everything that I played. Like I can go back and see what decks I was playing 3 years ago, and I can hear my reasoning for why I played the cards that I played, which I think is really cool. I think it's an advantage that you YouTubers have over just normal players. Normal players might remember what they played, but they might have not written the deck list down anywhere, where I have a video record of what I actually played. So that's kind of why I do this, just to see a couple years from now like where I came from and where I ended up going. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this deck profile, and I will be at YCS New Jersey and the Garden City Regional the next weekend, so if you see me there, feel free to come up and get stuff signed. And thank you, I should have done this at the beginning, but thank you to all the people throughout the tournament that came up to me and had me sign Chaos Maxes and FA cards and Frog cards. I signed so many totally awesomes. It was really cool. And like Brilliant Fusion and Garnet, there was that one guy that had me sign his ultimate rare Brilliant Fusion. That was crazy. You guys just really make this so much better, not only my job, but also just going to tournaments. It's so much fun to meet all the fans, and I just can't thank you guys enough for that. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'll wrap that up here. See you guys later. Goodbye.